Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table and welcome to our countdown to Christmas. Today is Sunday, so you know we're doing another recipe that has been sent to us from a subscriber for our Sunday subscriber series. And today's recipe comes from a gentleman named Ben Reap. Ben is from Guntersville, Alabama. Now Ben has an interesting nickname. It caught my attention as soon as I got the first recipe from him. People call him Rooster. So while I'm filming today, you're probably going to hear me refer to him as Rooster. That's just because as Melissa and I have discussed this recipe, we have referred to him as Rooster. And so that's just what's going to roll off my tongue probably. But Ben, thank you for sending in this recipe and the other recipes you've sent. Ben has sent us several recipes, and everything he has sent us is an original recipe of his that he has come up with on his own. He sent a really nice letter with this one, and I'm going to read just a few lines of it to you. It says, "Hey Tom and Melissa, it's Rooster again. These are truly original recipes. I came up with the name of this recipe because it is layered like a lasagna, yet the pasta layer is replaced by flour tortillas. You could use corn tortillas if preferred. All of the recipes I'm sending you will have had at least a 6-year success period in a busy coffee shop." Now he goes on to say he realizes that 6 years is not a long time and may not meet our criteria of a long time recipe for our Sunday subscriber series, but Ben, it does. We don't care how long a recipe has been around as long as someone is sending us a recipe that they have made many times and have really enjoyed. So 6 years is plenty long enough to meet our criteria. So Ben's recipe is called Southwestern Breakfast Lasagna Casserole. And that's what we're making today. Now, this is a really good casserole for the Christmas season. And that's because this recipe, this dish, can be put together the night before, left in the refrigerator overnight, taken out the next morning, and allowed to come to about room temperature, and then bake it. There's not anything really in this casserole that has to be cooked. You're going to put in flour tortillas. You're going to put in sausage that's already cooked. We're going to cook it before we assemble our dish. You're going to put in scrambled eggs, which we're going to cook before we assemble. You're going to put in some salsa and some shredded cheese. All of that's edible before you put it into the dish. So all you're going to have to do is take it out the next morning, let it come to room temperature, and then heat it in your oven. I've never had a casserole like this, and Ben says this is his original, and he said, if you ever see another one like it, please let me know, because I don't think there's anything out there like this. I don't think there is either. So I'm really excited to make this. Let's talk about what we're going to use to make Rooster's Southwestern Breakfast Lasagna Casserole. We're going to start with 6-inch tortillas. Now, Rooster says that we need anywhere from 12 to 16 of these tortillas. I bought a pack of 20 because that's all I could find really, except for packs of 10. And I knew if I got packs of 10, I'd have to buy 2 anyway. So I just got the pack of 20. It was cheaper. We're going to use 2 pounds of sausage. Now in Rooster's recipe, it says you can make this as mild or as spicy as you want. So if you want to use spicy sausage, then you do that. Melissa and I really don't care for hot sausage, so I got mild. But whatever you decide to use, you're going to need 2 pounds. Then we're going to use 1 dozen eggs that we're going to scramble. Rooster does not say in his recipe to mix this with milk, but when I scramble eggs, I always put a little whole milk in my eggs. So I will be doing that today, but that is not in Rooster's recipe. He does say to add 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So we're going to add those to our eggs when we beat them up before we scramble them. The next ingredient is PACE Chunky Mild Salsa.
And he specifically said PACE, right?
He did. He said that he uses PACE Chunky Salsa. He uses mild, but again, he said if you want to spice it up, you can certainly use the hotter salsa. Now, let me tell you that Rooster said to use 3 16-ounce jars. And Melissa and I did find the 16-ounce jars. But 2 24-ounce jars, which is the same amount, were cheaper than 3 of the smaller jars. So we got 2 big ones. It's the exact same amount. We're just going to have to divide them a little differently. But listen, Melissa and I are all about saving money. We've been school teachers and now retired school teachers, and we've pinched pennies our whole lives. So we try not to waste money. This was a little cheaper, so we did the 2 jars, but you can do either. The next thing on the ingredient list is a bag of finely shredded Fiesta blend cheese. He said to get a 2-pound bag, and you can see this is a 2-pound bag. But in his recipe, he says you may not use it all. You're just going to put a thin layer on top of each of the layers that you're making in the casserole. So you may not use all of that, but he suggested a 2-pound bag. That's what we got. Then when you serve your casserole, he suggested having some green onions and some sour cream, along with some of this PACE sauce that you will use to garnish the top. Allow people to put on top of their casserole.
Salsa.
What did I say?
Sauce. Same thing.
Salsa. So, you know, you're not going to use all of this in the casserole. You're going to have some of this left to put on top for people to put on top. So we won't be using the green onions or the sour cream tonight. Those are for garnish for tomorrow morning when the casserole is baked. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is fry our sausage and scramble our eggs. So that's what I'm going to get started doing. We're going to come over to the stove, and I'm just going to open my sausage up. I'll just take a knife and cut the 2 ends off. It's the easiest way I have found to do it. Then split that right down the package. And put that right in the skillet. All right, there's one of them. Okay, we have our 2 pounds of sausage in. I do want to tell you that you need to make sure that you have washed your scissors really well if you use those to cut open your sausage packets. And then after you've done that, you'll need to wash those again. So I'll put those in the sink. Then we're just going to fry our sausage and chop it up as it starts to fry. You want it to be in small pieces. So just whatever way you have. If you have a potato masher, that works fine. If you have one of these meat choppers, it works really well. You can use that to chop up the meat. Melissa, can you link this meat chopper below so if they want to order that?
I certainly will try.
Okay. So if you don't have a meat chopper or a potato masher or something to already use and you want to order one, Melissa will put a link there for you. All right, we're just going to continue frying and chopping up this meat until there's no pink left and it's in small pieces. The sausage has been fried. It's all chopped up. So I'm going to just scoop this out into a bowl because we're going to use this same skillet to scramble our eggs. We have put in 9 of our eggs. We have 3 to go. And you will notice that I'm doing these one at a time just to make sure that I don't get a piece of shell in my eggs or get a bad egg, which is really unusual, but sometimes it happens. It can. So I'll crack one at a time and put it in. Because if I got a piece of shell down in there with 11 eggs now, I would have a mess trying to dig that out. Okay. We have our eggs all in. So I'm going to get rid of that bowl. Let's add in our 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And of course you can adjust these to what you like. If you don't want salt, then you can leave that out. If you want more pepper, put more pepper in. Now I'm going to try this little gadget. I saw this online a few weeks ago, so I got one for Melissa and me, and I bought one for each of our kids. I don't know if this is going to work with eggs or not, but I'm sure going to try it. If not, we'll do something else. And you know, it's not going to break those yolks up, so I'm just going to have to do that by mashing them. And then we'll see if it'll work. Okay, here we go. It's working, but I don't think it's great for this.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Probably not. Not for eggs. It's actually, I think, meant to use on whipped cream and milk to froth cream and milk. So I guess that's what I should have stuck with using it for.
You just couldn't resist a little experiment,
Well,
could you?
you know, I love kitchen gadgets, and I love seeing if I can find uses for them. And actually, now that I've gotten those egg yolks broken up, it's actually doing a pretty good job. Yeah, I may or may not use that again. Actually, Melissa, what do you think? I think that looks pretty good.
Okay.
I'm a little surprised, if you want to know the truth.
Now, are you going to add milk?
I am. I always add a little milk to my eggs. Now, Rooster's recipe does not say to add milk, but I always add milk to my scrambled eggs. And it doesn't take much. I just feel like adding a little whole milk makes them fluffier. So I just had to do that. You don't have to. I don't know, without milk, I feel like they're more dense and a little tougher. And I like fluffy eggs. And actually in Rooster's recipe, he does say fluffy eggs. It says 12 eggs scrambled fluffy, crumbled and cooled. So, hey, you know what? This has worked really well. Look at those. I think that's pretty fabulous.
Okay.
You think you could find this online so we could tag it?
Well, if I can find where you got it, I'll certainly try, because somebody will probably be asking, so I'll just make it easy as possible.
Look at that.
Okay.
Hey, I found a new use for this little gadget. That's pretty awesome. Okay. So, let's go scramble some eggs. Now, we are going to use the same skillet that we fixed the sausage in. We just wiped it out, and we left a little bit of the sausage grease in it. Not all of it, but just a little bit. And then I added some butter. And we're just going to add in our eggs. Now it's going to take several minutes for these to scramble, and as they, wow, that really mixed up well. There's no egg in the bottom of that. That's awesome. It's going to take just a little while for these to scramble, so we'll continue stirring and cooking until they have completely scrambled and they're cooked all the way through. The hardest part of this casserole is over. We've fried the sausage and we've scrambled the eggs. Actually, my sweetheart scrambled the eggs. So now all we're going to do is assemble. So we're just going to take our tortillas, put them in the pan, and Ben does say you can cut or tear these any way you need to cover the corners and the edges. So I've cut one in half. I'm going to play with it here a minute and just see what I can do. If I put it that way, I've still got a piece in the middle that's not covered. So if I put one that way and one sideways, it does cover. Next layer, I'm going to do something different, but for this layer, that's what I'm doing. Okay, actually, I'm going to tear that off a little bit so that that fits up closer to the edge there. Okay, now we need some spoons. We're going to use 1/3 of our sausage to go right on top of those tortillas. By the way, I did spray my pan with nonstick spray. You just want to spread this out. Use about 1/3 of it. You don't want to use too much of it in one layer and then not have enough for your other layers. So just kind of guess at it. It's okay. It's not going to be exact. And if you get to that last layer and there's not quite as much, big deal. It's still all in there, right? Okay, so a layer of sausage. Now a layer of eggs. And I am just going to try to chop these up a little bit because they do have to be spread out. And if you have any big chunks of egg, they're not going to spread all over your casserole. So just chop them up a little bit. That's what Ben says he does. All right. There's about 1/3, I think. I'm going to try to spread that out just a little bit better there so it's not chopped up too much. So I want to make sure we have some egg in pretty much every bite. All right, so we have egg and sausage. Now we need some salsa. And he says, I'm going to shake this because it's kind of settled. Top looked like it had some thicker salsa on it, so I'm just going to shake that up. He did say to spread a thin layer. You do not want it wet. I guess you don't want this casserole just to be swimming in liquid. So he said just a thin layer. And I'm going to use my offset spatula to try to spread that out some. I think I need a little more right there. You know, you're not going to get it covered completely, but you just kind of want it spread out so that you have that taste of the salsa in every bite.
We're also going to have some to use in the top.
That's right. Yeah, we are going to have some.
As you're finished.
Right, we're going to have some to use as a garnish on top. So I think that's pretty good. Ben, I hope this is the way you do it. And then we're going to use a thin layer of cheese. And that's exactly what he said, a thin layer of cheese. So I'm not going to do too much. I have a tendency to overdo the cheese when I do casseroles. I just have a heavy hand with cheese because I love cheese. So I'm going to try not to overdo it, Ben.
Does Rooster have a cafe, a coffee shop?
Rooster had a coffee shop. I think he said for 6 years. And I am so sorry that I never got the chance to go to that coffee shop. I think I would have loved going there because he evidently served a whole lot more than coffee. Need a little cheese right there. See, I told you I just can't stop with the cheese. Okay, so we've done tortillas, sausage, egg, salsa, and cheese. And now we're going to start over. So we're going to do another layer of tortilla. And did I have 2 there? I thought I'd picked up 4. This one I'm going to do differently. I'm going to cut a piece out of the middle to put there. Oh, look at that.
Clever.
Hot dog, I figured it out. Okay, so our tortilla's down. Another 1/3 of the sausage. And you know what? If you've got a little grease in the bottom of your sausage, I don't think that's going to hurt a thing. Of course, you don't want it swimming in grease. But I think it would be okay if you had a little grease in here for the flavor and the moisture. Just a little more right there. Okay. Now, we're going back in with our eggs. Another 1/3 of our eggs. Chop those up real good. All right, let's scatter those out. Oh, there's a big piece we didn't get chopped up. Okay. And again, we don't want just a solid layer of eggs. We just want a little bit where we can have some egg in every bite. Brewster, I have never seen a casserole like this, a breakfast casserole. But I'm going to tell you, I think I'm going to love this. I think this is going to be one of my favorite breakfast casseroles.
I think our kids are going to enjoy this too.
Our kids are going to go crazy over this.
So nice to have something
because
easy to fix the next morning when you have company.
Right. Our kids love anything that's Southwestern, anything Mexican. And this has a little bit of that flair with the tortillas and the salsa, and sour cream, green onions. So I think they're going to love it. And I think you and I are going to love it too.
I think so too.
Do we have anybody we could call to come for breakfast in the morning?
Oh, I can think of several people.
Yeah. And I think maybe we should do that because we can't eat all this ourselves tomorrow. We'll put just a little bit more.
Have a breakfast party.
Yeah. Okay. Spread that out just a little bit. All right, now what's next?
Cheese, your favorite part.
Cheese. And then we have one more layer to go. We're doing 3 layers.
So you really need a deep casserole dish.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're going to need a good 9 by 13 pan or a little larger. This one's actually a little larger than 9 by 13, so it works perfectly for this. Oh man, can you imagine when this cheese is all melted down around that? Rooster, I'm going to say it's probably a good thing you and I are not neighbors. We might be dangerous together in the kitchen. All right, our last layer. And I am going to push it down just a little bit because we want to have room to get all this in there. And I'm going to cut one more tortilla. That's a small one. I want a different one. I want a big one. So I'm going to cut it right down through there. Take that middle part, put it right there in the middle. Put those 2 on the edges. I'm telling you, I'm just so proud of myself. Okay, now we're going to finish this sausage. And I'm going to try not to get too much of that grease in there. I should have drained that a little better before I put it in the bowl.
I would prefer it not to be in there.
I know you would. Melissa doesn't like bacon grease or sausage grease in, not too much in things now. She doesn't mind me putting bacon grease in something like green beans. But yeah, she's not a big grease girl. Okay, so all of our sausage is in. Let's get that spread around a little bit. Just make sure everything has some sausage on it. I want every bite that somebody takes to have some of that sausage. Okay, and we're going to finish these eggs. Chop the rest of these up pretty good so we can spread them around. Okay, here we go. Let's just kind of dribble them out. Okay, Melissa, we haven't tasted this, of course. What's your assessment?
Oh, I think it's going to be fantastic.
I do too.
I like, a breakfast burrito or something that's rolled up like this. So
right.
It's kind of the same concept.
Yeah, when we go on a cruise, there's usually a Mexican place. And they do breakfast burritos. And a lot of mornings, that's what Melissa and I have. So this is very similar to that. It's just in a casserole form. And I think that's fabulous. All right, we're going to go in with some more PACE Salsa. And since this is the top layer, I'm probably gonna put a little more on here because I don't feel like I've used as much as I would have with 2 jars if I had done the smaller jars. So, piece of runaway egg. So, I need to shake that. It's kind of settled. Okay, that's better. So I'm going to put a healthy layer of salsa on this one. It's on the top and it can soak down in there anyway. Okay, now the rest of that we're going to save to use for our garnish tomorrow morning. Now, of course, we're going to top this whole thing with some cheese. And I don't think Ben said, but I will bet that on the top he puts more cheese than what he does in the layers, just so there's a nice layer of cheese on top after it's baked. But Tom's going to. I love cheese on the top of it. Okay. Now at this point, you can bake it. If you want to bake it, it says 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. If you're going to wait and bake it the next morning, you're going to want to cover this immediately. I wouldn't let it sit out too long. You don't want it to dry out. You're going to want to cover it with some plastic wrap and get that in your freezer. Not in your freezer. No, don't put it in your freezer. In your refrigerator, and let it sit overnight. And then tomorrow morning, take it out, let it come to room temperature. I'm going to say you could leave it sit out for 30 to 40 minutes and then bake it at 350 for 30 to 40 minutes. What do you think, Melissa? Does that look good?
I think it looks fabulous.
Okay. So I'm going to cover this. We're going to leave it overnight. And tomorrow morning, we will come back and show you what it looks like before we bake it. And then we will put it in the oven. Good morning, everyone. Our casserole, Rooster's casserole, has been in the refrigerator overnight. I did set it out about an hour ago, so it has probably come close to being at room temperature. I have preheated our oven to 350 degrees, and so we're going in for about 30 to 40 minutes or until the casserole is heated through. Remember, nothing really needs to cook. It's all cooked. We just have to heat it through and make sure it's warmed all the way to the middle. So we're going in, and in about 30 to 40 minutes, we'll do a taste test. Rooster's Breakfast Casserole has baked for 40 minutes. And I'm going to tell you, just from looking at this, I think this is going to be a favorite of ours. You can definitely see the layers, which is why Rooster has called this a lasagna breakfast casserole, Southwestern Breakfast Lasagna Casserole. And if you look inside the dish there, you can definitely see the layers.
It looks really nice.
I'm telling you, I cannot wait to dig into this. All right, so I'm going to do what Rooster said. I'm going to put a little salsa on first. I'm just going to spoon that right here on top. I'm going to top that with a little sour cream, and those of you that have been around here a while know that I'm not a huge fan of sour cream on top of things. I don't mind it mixed in with something, but not necessarily on top, but it's what Rooster says that we should do, so that's what I'm doing.
I think it's a marvelous idea.
And then a few green onions sprinkled over.
Makes it so pretty.
Isn't that beautiful? I can just imagine that this was a huge hit at his coffee shop. And yes, I did cut a big piece because we wanted it to be big enough that you could see it. And Melissa and I are sharing this. Okay, here we go. I am so excited to try this. I'm gonna get some salsa and sour cream for you. You ready?
I am.
It's a big bite.
Oh, there's no way.
Yeah, there is. Did you get it?
Not exactly. Oh my goodness, that's so good.
Well, let me get a bite and I'll tell you.
It's really different from the other breakfast casserole that we did not too long ago, which is really good too. Totally different flavor in this one. It's delicious.
Wow.
Rooster, you had a hit.
Changing my mind. You can get your own piece. Man, that's good. It's sausage and eggs. Rooster, it's a winner. That is so good. Wow, that's wonderful. Hey guys, you have to make this. I'm telling you, you put this together at night, bake it the next morning, your family wakes up for Christmas, they're going to love this. That's fabulous. And you know, I can't really think of anything else that you would need to go with this. You might put some fruit with it. Maybe something sweet. I don't know. This is a meal. That's everything you need right there. Eggs, sausage, tortillas. I mean, it's all right there. It's delicious. Rooster, we sure do appreciate you sending that to us and the other recipes that you've sent. We've enjoyed getting all of them.
Glad I don't have to wait till Christmas to have my piece.
Me too. We will fix this again when our kids are here at Christmas. We will definitely fix this again. All right, thank you so much for watching our video. We do appreciate it. Remember to click that like, share, and subscribe button. Remember that the recipe is right under this video in the description box, and there's a place at the bottom where you can leave us a comment, and we love reading your comments. So please go down there and just leave us a comment. We really do hope that you have a wonderful Christmas, and we want you to remember that you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Merry Christmas and have a great day.